Hello and welcome everyone to this masterclass titled How to Make Money in Your Portfolio Career. Now, why am I doing a masterclass on this topic? So, about a week back, I wrote a post. The post was also in reply to questions from participants, but it was about cultivating abundance in your portfolio career. This post was an academic article with exercises, and it had three parts to it. The first one was about getting clarity on what abundance means to you right now in your life. And note, when I use the word abundance, it need not mean only money, but it can include money. It's going to be specific to each person. If you've not read that post, you should go and read that as a precursor to this masterclass. That's step one. Step two was then to look at what you wanted as what you would like as return on investment in your own time spent at work. The career part of work defined as work that we do professionally. So this excludes our hobbies and things that we just do for the fun of it or just do to make a difference and volunteering. So I'm very clearly defining profession and career as something that we do where we also want to generate income out of it. It's just a classification to make life simpler. And that was step two of the article with exercises to get clarity on that and to then see if a portfolio career will actually be needed for you, given what you want to get from your work, which, by the way, it need not be just money, and given your income and abundance goals and portfolio. And then we were looking at the do's and don'ts of portfolio. Now, this article turned out to resonate with way more people than I expected. I think it must be my most widely read article so far, perhaps. And there were questions that came. And looking at the nature of questions, I decided to create this masterclass specifically to answer the one question that I felt was coming from multiple people, which was, how do I make money in a portfolio career? And sometimes this question was disguised as comments and comments where people wanted me to agree with them, but I'm not going to agree. And the comments sounded like, but in a portfolio career you can't really match your salary, can you? It's not the same as getting a salary. In a portfolio career you don't have that same negotiating power, do you? Because now you're on the receiving end. And much as I hear what these people were saying, sadly, I have to disagree. But the good news, it's actually good news that I'm disagreeing with you, because I'm going to show you how you can actually, if you want to, that is, make money through your portfolio career, build a brand, take up your negotiating power rather than take it down, so that you can actually make, for those of you who want to make money through your portfolio career, yes, you can. And how do I know this? And how can I say this with so much conviction? It's because I have done this. And I quit my full-time job, I think now 4 years back, or 5 years back. And of course, when I quit it, I remember before quitting it, I was like, and a friend of mine had asked me this question, Ramya, are you addicted to your salary? Her name is Tejas, beautiful girl, woman. And it stung me. I felt hurt. I was like, what do you mean addicted to your salary? But the more I reflected on it, the more I realized I was right. And I've written an article on that as well. So look that up if you want. Just Google my name and addicted to salary, and I'm sure you'll find it. So that took me down a path of actually looking up the definition of addiction, investigating into my own relationship, not just with money, but money coming in a fixed packet, in a guaranteed format every month. That's your paycheck. And seeing if I'd got so used to that it almost was behaving as an addiction in my life, keeping me back from exploring what else I could explore in my life. And what else I wanted to explore at that time, the risks that I wanted to take. So I made the change. But unlike some people who take a complete plunge and do something completely different, I didn't need to do that, because And that's where, I started applying what I have been teaching to my clients and students all the time. And sometimes it's called slash career, sometimes, slash as in, you can say stand-up comedian slash writer slash professor. Okay. So that's why in the Western world, it's called slash careers. I like to use the term portfolio careers now, just to let people know that there's work involved in terms of managing it and planning it, just like, we take our financial portfolio seriously. You need to take your career portfolio seriously. It's not just about having a visiting card with a slash. So there are ways you can leverage the different activities that you do, the different careers that you do to add into one another. And, just like that is work. That is work. You can seek expert advice. You can train yourself. You can learn more, just like you do with your financial portfolio. You can manage your career portfolio. So anyway, so to come back to it, to my story. So I use a portfolio career since then, and I found it working really well. I find the reasons it appeals to me is that by nature, I am not very, very risk taking. And again, for those of you who and I know people, and I've coached such people who are like, either they have a family business background and they have some cash stacked away, or they have a spouse who's earning, and they're like, what, I have this passion project and I'm just going to launch my business and I'm just going to start with it. Great. It works for some people. For some people like me, none of that worked. I wanted to be earning my own money, and I wanted to try new things. And I wanted to do both. So portfolio career allows me to do both. So my full-time work, my full-time occupation, I was a faculty at IIM Bangalore, and drawing a nice little comfortable salary every month. So I still teach. About 50% of my time goes in working, teaching the courses at IIM Bangalore. The good news now is that I get to go in as an adjunct faculty and teach just my favorite courses. So I don't have the service requirements, and I don't have to, tick off all the boxes that a full-time employee has to do. And I can just go do my stuff. It's a win-win for the institute. It's a win-win for me. I get to do what I'm really passionate about, and they get me coming back to do what I'm really passionate about, which happens to be what I'm also really good at. So it's a win-win. Right. And that's sort of like the stable, steady part of my career. So I did change that completely. At the same time, I started working with corporate clients, and I was doing that before through IIM Bangalore, but now I'm doing that directly with the corporations themselves. Again, there are pros and cons there, and there's a risk element to it, but that's a huge risk versus reward, right? Doing it on your own, but the reward gets much, much, much higher. I get paid much more when I engage with a corporate client directly than I would when I go through the institute, because there, of course, there's an institute share, and very fairly, of course, that's the framework. And so that's the other body of work. And then I got trained as a coach, and I have my coaching clients. Again, I have group coaching, I do private coaching, and, they have different bodies of risk versus return versus engagement versus passion versus what I want to do. And I really need to manage all of these components. This year, I have been experimenting with a very high risk offering in my portfolio, which is retreats in nature, outbound retreats. It takes a lot of work to just do the coordination, the logistics, collaborating with someone else who will do all of that as well. And I'm doing it. But that's just like about 10% of my work, of my time, maybe sometimes in some months, 20%. But the reason I can take those big, big risks in those spaces and try these really different things, new locations, new profiles, is because I have other parts of my portfolio which pulled up for me, like the fixed deposits. Okay, so this is giving you an idea of a portfolio career. So I'm going to now take you through specifically what you can do to make money in your portfolio career, and I'll give you examples wherever needed. So in order to do this in a crisp way, I actually sat down and, looked at the responses that I'd given to the participants in the groups who came up with these questions. And I narrowed it down. I clubbed it into the top 3 mistakes that can keep us. And I think that keep most people who are in a portfolio career or who are freelancing, but maybe just in one. So if you're just doing, for example, career coaching or leadership coaching, or just freelancing and teaching, let's say, I don't know, design thinking, okay? then you're not in a portfolio career, but you're still freelancing. Okay, so this will apply to you even if you're a freelancer. So, and some or most of this will apply to you. So the top 3 mistakes that people who are working on their own, as opposed to in a salaried position, make, which keep us from meeting our income goals. Okay. And when I say mistakes, I say this with a lot of love, a lot of compassion, a lot of empathy, because I've made all of them. I still make them, and I still have to pinch myself, wake up, shake up. Ramya, you're doing this again. I still work with my own coaches and mentors who call me out, who help me see this, who help me see what I'm doing wrong, right? I was pulled up just last week by one of my coaches for making a mistake, one of the, sub mistakes of these 3 big mistakes that I'm going to talk you through. So let's look at them. And, I know the word mistake can sound very hard, but I again mean it without judgment, because some of these mistakes are more typical, especially if you've been in a full-time salaried role. We get used to relating with money, with income, with getting paid for what we do, with all of that. We get into a certain comfort zone, into a certain model, right? That becomes our operating system outside in terms of the conversations, the asking, the actual negotiations. Also inside, just in terms of how we think about it, our self-worth and all of that, the value of our work. Needing to promote our work, needing to ask, right? Needing to brand ourselves, needing to actually put a number on the value. We don't have to do it on a daily basis when we are in a salaried role, and that's the comfort that comes with it. But so now it's a new operating system that we sort of need to tap into or learn or code in our minds. Okay, so that's the inner work component. So when we don't switch from that old operating system but we've switched into freelancing, but we're still using the salaried mindset, then it's like a mistake, right? So think of it as a mistake or think of it as a misfit. But we're just looking at what will not work for you and what's keeping you away. Okay. Okay. So get your notebook out. I'm not using slides intentionally. I've just got my notes here. I've got 5 pages of notes, but I would like you to write down whatever makes sense to you. And I want you to do the hard work here and actually write down whatever resonates with you, because not everything might resonate with everyone, so that you can then act further on it. Okay. So pause this right now, grab a pen and paper if you need to, and let's look at mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 is not being clear on your own definition of abundance. And I mean this. And there's a specific reason why I'm going back to this. Despite the fact that this is about money, I'm answering the question about money very clearly, but I am going to make you go back to your own internal definition of abundance and see what all there is in it, what all you want, and how money fits into it. Because here's what I'm going to tell you. Let me give you a very, very simple example. Because otherwise it causes non-coherence. Like there's a part of you that is thinking money equals abundance, the cash in my bank. For some of us, it's not how much I have. That doesn't matter. How much is coming in every month. This month I didn't make enough. I'm feeling poor. This year I didn't make enough. I'm feeling poor. Doesn't matter that I have XYZ sitting in from my last 10 years of earning and saving in my bank account, right? So what is it that's going to make you feel rich, make you feel abundant? What is that number? And what are the other things that also make you feel rich and abundant? And be very mindful of that, because otherwise there's going to be another part of you, your own mind. So there's one part of you that's saying, this year I didn't make so much, so I'm poor. There's another part of you that's saying that, you know what, but now I have so much more time to spend with my child, with my pet, with my parents. I get to take these long walks in nature. I get to plan my vacations when I want. So I am rich. And then there's this internal conflict. I need, no, I don't need. I need. So one day you wake up saying, I need more money, I need more money. Another day you wake up, no, but I am rich, I have all of this. And now these two paths are both inside of you. They're sometimes at war. For some of us, they're not at war actively. They just wake up on different parts of the day. So one day you really sit down and work hard, and another day you're like, oh, rich, I'm fine, I'm so great, right? And then this part wakes up again and says, no, I'm feeling poor. I'm not earning as much money as I did. And it goes on and on and on. Not a very happy state. And the thing is, why? Why do we have to be in that? Why do we have to be in that? And I was there. I still get there. Still, I say, wake up, Ramya. Get out the pen, get out the paper. It's like if you have 2 kids, or you're a class teacher and you have 50 kids and they're all squabbling, and you're like, no, you don't need to squabble. Let's all come together and let's talk it out. So you bring all these parts of your own mind together, sit down. If it's 2 parts, you're sitting down with 2 of your kids, right? If it's 50 parts, I hope you don't have 50. You're sitting down with the entire group and say, let's sit down and see what will make us feel rich. What will make us feel abundance? What does abundance mean to me? What does richness mean to me? And with everyone on board, you decide, this is the money I want. For some of you, and I know this, and I know what works for you, it's going to be a flat figure. I want XYZ crores in the bank. I want XYZ lakhs in the bank. I want XYZ millions in the bank, right? This will make me feel abundant. After that, I won't judge myself. For some of you, that's not going to be it. You might say, I want this to feel safe. Yeah, fine. But then I want this much coming in every month, right? Whatever it is. I want XYZ lakhs as my monthly income. I want XYZ crore. I have absolutely no judgment, because that is going to solely depend on your goals. Okay. So write that number down and let you, and this is where radical honesty becomes really important. And I'm saying, you don't have to share it. You don't even have to share it with your husband, nobody, or wife, if you're a man, or your mother, or your father, or your sister. And unless you have non-judgmental people in your life who really understand why you want what you want, don't share it. Okay. Or you have someone who's giving you advice. If you have a coach, you can share it with them if they are giving you advice in this space, right? So, but this radical honesty is not about putting it out there for others to see. No. This is about you making peace with all the different conflicted parts of you. Because these are the parts of you that are going to wake up, one on Saturday morning and make you feel down. One on Sunday night and say, you useless failure. One on Monday morning and say, oh no, you should be working harder. And so you just want all these parts of you to be on board with the number. I'm sorry. I don't think you can work without the numbers here. Okay. You want to just go for that feely, goody, I feel rich, I feel abundant way. I've tried it. I get the logic of it. Unfortunately, for those of you who are the engineers here, the MBAs, you have the mind, you have the math, you have a bank account. You're not a Buddhist monk who has been told not to handle any money and have any money. They give up their identity also. You have your identity, you have your bank account, you have your credit card bills, you have the numbers, you have the thinking mind. Please bring your thinking mind on board. Because otherwise, I promise you, I've been there. There will be days when the monk gets up and says, I am fine. I am so fine. I have everything that I need. Okay. Another day, the MBA will get up and say, I am poor. What am I doing with my life? Okay. And that's what I'm here to solve for you. Okay. So please do the math. Put the numbers there. The monk in you will not mind the numbers. If the monk in you has a problem with the numbers, we have a process for that. Again, been there, done that. Wait for mistake number 3 and we will get the monk on board. Okay. But for now, get the MBA, the engineer, the chartered accountant, the thinking mind on board and do your number work. Now, let me also take a minute here. You might want to pause, watch this together if you want as one recording. I do sometimes have a I tend to cram too much into master classes. In longer workshops and courses, there's self-play, reflection. I work with people energetically. If doing this work throws your mind, throws your emotions into a tailspin, I'm there to facilitate you. Right now, so if right now you're just feeling like, woo, you take a break, come back, do this exercise, and come back in some time, okay? Do not go into what I mean is like, it's a bit like, get this part done with, get the radical honesty here, because I can almost give this to you in writing, that if you don't do the math and you don't have your numbers written down, you're not going to make that money as a freelancer in a portfolio career. You might make it in a salaried job. And I'll tell you why. And I'm not saying you're going to be unhappy again, right? So that's why you need to do that. Like if you actually, there's like 90% of you that doesn't even want that money, and there's a small 5% of you says, oh, I'd like to have 10 lakhs money coming in every month. And again, been there, done that. This small part of you once in a while will feel a little bad, but the rest of you so happy, right? It's okay, chill, I'm having such a good life. And you'll just like sort of silence this part and then you'll go on. And some of you who are whining and telling me, yeah, in a portfolio career, you can't really make so much money. You know what? Maybe you're in that category, in which case it's fine. It's not actually such a big problem for you, and you just say, okay, fine, you know what, this little part of me is waking up, but there's the most of me actually doesn't want it. I don't even want to bother about this. When that little part wakes up, I'll just say, hey, what? Look at the bigger picture. She or he will become silent and I'll move on with my life. There's nothing wrong with that. But if this is a big part of you, and this will be a big part of you only in a freelance job as a portfolio where you are your own boss, this will be a big part of you only if this income goal that you have is tied to a application of the money. Again, I can give this to you in writing. Been there, done that. Been there, coached clients who've been there, done that, not once, but again and again and again. So I have a client coming up saying, my goal for my business, and I'm talking about self-led. I'm not talking about boss-led. I'm not talking about salary and employee. You know, there it can you can do, even if all of you doesn't really know what you're going to do with all that money. Why? Because you need to think about the money and all of that only when you're sort of going all out to get that job, right? Impress them about how good you are. Done. You've got the job. You've got that high-paying job. After that, there's someone outside you monitoring you, sometimes tying you, pulling you, sometimes inspiring you, sometimes, you know, you just have a great ecosystem. You have a co-founder, you have the colleagues, and it's a positive way in which they're carrying you. Sometimes it's a negative way in which you're being dragged, and by negative I mean force, you know, like putting the pressure up and out and all of that. Whatever it is, whether it's positive, whether it's negative, you have an external system making sure you get up, you do it, you deliver, you put in the hours, all of that. And therefore you will reach those goals. Do you get it? But when you are on your own, you're your boss. There will be enough days when, let's say you're in this category where 10% of you has this, a small part of you has this 10 lakhs a month is my income goal. And the 90 part of you is in this monk state. I'm just here. I'm already happy. I'm already doing work that I love. And I just here for the gratitude, for making a contribution, for learning, for growth. I'm not downselling all of these, but I'm just saying all of these are the reasons for the rest of you, right? So there will be many days when you get up and you're not feeling that extra push. You're not feeling that extra drive. You're not feeling that inspiration even from outside. And you'll just snuggle back into bed, or you won't really go that extra mile to speak to that, answer that client call, to, you know, do that. I've been there, done that. I'm still there often. I still do that. I'm not very, very actually aggressive or even assertive. I'm not saying you have to be aggressive, but I want you to get the power of being aggressive. Okay. Should you want to go after aggressive goals. So what I'm saying is, if you don't have that goal set out in number, there's a very, very small chance, I'll put it at 0, that you will meet it. And the only way you can drive yourself when you're soul-led, and by soul, I meant soul, S-O-L-U, but for those of you whom you said soul as in soul, this will also make sense because you need a purpose. Your purpose can be a soul purpose. It can be a business purpose, right? And that is where the days when, if that purpose is linked to your money goal, you have a better chance. And in fact, that's only when you will have a chance as a solopreneur to meet it. So let me give you again this example of a client where he had this goal. And I was like, what are you going to do with this money in your business or in your life? He had no plan for it. I just want it. And he was not meeting it. We used to have our sessions. He used to agree to do something, but he would not act on it. I was like, what happened? There was no fire in him, right? There was no reason. Because, like, you want the money, but money is just a tool. Why do you want the money? As opposed to another time when the same client, when he finally, after sessions of not working, got it. And we changed his goal. It wasn't his original goal, but we changed on what he is going to use it for, okay? When he got clear on what he's going to use it for, he was showing up for his work. And the money, he was bringing in the money. The money was showing up. And now money will not just show up, right? He means he has to put in the work and the hours. But it was the whole thing, the system was working because now there is a reason for that money to come in. And therefore, it is a greater pull. So again, this is shift, right? Now, you can be in a salary job and you can get away without having that strong, powerful reason or purpose because the external environment, somebody will pull you, somebody will push you, somebody will tickle you, somebody will inspire you, somebody will say, chalo, 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 somebody will say, chalo, 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 and you will do it. By yourself? Sorry, most of us aren't there. So we will have to rely on our purpose. So part of this step is also not just doing the math, but the math with a purpose. Why do you want that money? And honey, rise with money. And you've not thought about that? Take some time and think about it or go back and read my article on portfolio careers, because if there isn't a reason for wanting that money, then it's time to think, okay? Again, I've experienced this myself. So I've also found that the reason, if it is looped back to your purpose of why you're doing your business, works better, but it doesn't have to be. Even if the reason is because I want to send my kids to college, whatever it is, health insurance, it still works. All I'm asking you to do is get a reason at this stage, okay? Now, let's look at mistake number 2. Okay, write this down. Mistake number 2 is not prioritizing your money-making activities. Literally, your MMAs. What are money-making activities? Now, for those of you who are entrepreneurs who've been freelancing, or you know that you have to do a lot of things to do your work, to run your business, some of which is directly translating into bringing the money, the cash in, the hard cash. A lot of the other things that you do, think of them as the support function. A lot of the others would be about learning, upgrading yourself, preparing yourself, creating the contacts, creating the networks, doing the marketing, doing the advertising, right? All of that, building the brand. They're all important. Just like in an organization, you need finance, you need control, you need accounting, you need marketing, you need sales, you need operations, you need R&D. But in your work, there's also those activities that are actually bringing the cash in. Identify that. And I want to distinguish here between short-term money-making activity and long-term money-making activity. Why? This links back again to that mistake number 1, or the step number 1 that I told you. Get very clear what you want. So let's say I put a goal of, I want 10 lakh per month coming in. And I'm focusing on all these things, building my website, creating the network, building a brand. This month, the money would come in, right? And I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to judge myself. So get very clear. And now you will know. So this is tied to maybe I don't need the money right now. So some of you will have the maturity and will have the luxury of saying 6 months, I don't want. I'm okay if no cash comes in. Then be very clear you made that choice and I'm building up this business, I'm building up this brand, I'm doing that. So then don't complain that no, as a portfolio career, freelancer, I don't make money. You didn't make money because you chose that in the beginning you don't want to, and you just want to make it like an investment. It's like you chose to go into an MBA program where you're first paying the fees, you're investing, and then you cash in later, right? So if you're choosing that, then don't complain about it and don't say that no, you can't make money as a freelancer, because that's not true. You can. If you want to make money as a freelancer, again, been there, done that, learned it the hard way. And if you say this is what I want every month, prioritize. I'm not saying do only that, but make sure you're doing some money making activities every month. So what are money making activities? Money making activities for some of us are going to be creating saleable products, services, offerings. So let's make this tangible. I'll give you my own example. So if I'm doing paid masterclasses, retreats, workshops, again, paid offerings, those are my money making activities. When I'm just writing free content out there or webinars, they're not money making activities, right? But they still might help in the brand. When I'm educating and upgrading myself, yes, it will make money for me in the future. But right now, in that month, it's a cash outflow. It's not a money making activity for me. So are you putting in enough money making activity? And this is the bucket by which you want to do. Some people like to do it monthly. Some people like to do it quarterly. Some people like to do the accounting 6 monthly, yearly. I don't have a judgment. I found people do well enough. I have a coaching client who is very, very, very patient. She actually looks at it every year. It works for her. But for most people, a year doesn't work. They start feeling, like a failure. So I personally do quarterly because I tried monthly. And I had one of my goals when I started out was 10 lakh a month, and the monthly goal did not work very well for me because then I would be beating myself up. And the kind of work that I do requires planning, and sometimes you just have to work a lot, and it's not going to turn around immediately. And then you put together a project or a retreat, and then it comes, and then there's teaching that also sometimes term wise, or the corporate workshops, you have these lump sum. So I really like to sort of evaluate, and I'm not using the word judge, but evaluate and measure myself on a quarterly basis. A year is too much for me. So see what works for you and prioritize your money-making activities in that. Now, here are some tips here. Again, learned the hard way through not just my experiences, but my other clients also. So do listen to this about a simple truth. And this is just, you'll get it once I say it, which is that people will only pay you for creating value in their life. True. I'm not talking about patrons, right? Hey, even there, you write a poem, or you're an artist and a musician, and people pay you because you have created some value in their life. And in the world of business, it's even more clear, right? So if you are actually going to make a difference to the people that you're working with through your product, through your service, through your offering, the money that you can bring in, so your money-making activities capability to bring in cash is directly proportional to the value you are creating for the person who's paying you. Everyone good with this? 101 MBA, okay? And this is why service is key. Yes, service is key. Okay, I'm not saying customer is key. I'm saying service is key. Whether it's B2B, whether it's B2C, your service has to be good. So being a freelancer or being having a portfolio career doesn't take you away from delivering high quality content, service, products, offerings. And by high quality, it doesn't have to be just something that feels good in your eyes, or you think it's great, or you think it's life-changing. It has to actually create value that the customer can see, grapple, and acknowledge. Again, something I learned the hard way. A small aside here, which is, so for those who don't know me, I set out exploring I need to tell you the story to make this point, because it took me, I think it's cost me a lot of money actually in taking a long time to learn this lesson. And I don't want you to. I see many other people, idealistic people. I used to be idealistic. I mean, I still am, but I'm also way more, I'm a combination of idealistic and practical now, but I used to be lopsided a bit on the side of idealism. So, and I see a lot of people making that mistake now, right? So, okay. So the work that I do now, what I'm doing here as part of this is I actually pioneer, teach, and facilitate an inside out approach to help people craft their careers. I call it career alchemy. Now, why do I do this? This is the story of my life. So it's a typical story of me learning and doing something for myself to heal myself. And then recognizing that, oh, wow, this is also my calling. This is also what I can actually offer to others. So 25 years ago, when I was working my first few jobs, I hated it. I was stuck on Monday morning blues. I really set out I was just complaining then, but I got some good advice and, a teacher who helped me see it, not as complaints, not as what's wrong with me, what's wrong with people, why does work have to be so frustrating? Why do I have to work at all? So she helped me take all of that. So everyone else was just judging me or saying, everyone's adjusting, why don't you? But this teacher actually helped me see that. And she said, you know what, Ramya, the real questions in your head are the relationship between people and their work. You should study that. So this launched me on my journey to actually study that. So I went on to do a PhD. And I still remember my first day at London Business School, where, the first class was a strategy class. And we had this very, what do you call it? Academically oriented European guest faculty from the Netherlands. And he asks us, so why are you here? And this was across our first class in strategy, first year PhD. We had people from all the disciplines, right? So, and when it came to, people had different reasons. And when it came to my reason, I'm here to understand the relationship between human beings and their work. And this person, he looks at me and he says, wow, Ramya, there you go. You have your life's purpose already. And it didn't strike me with its gravity, but now I realize he was true. Yes, it has stayed on. This didn't finish. And I think what he was telling me was, don't expect to get all the answers to this in your PhD journey or ever. This is your life's journey and purpose. And it has become my sacred purpose, and I'm so grateful for it. But I didn't explore the relationship between human beings at work only through my PhD. I also explored it because it was a big thing for me. I explored it in theology. I explored it in Indian philosophy, where I found very, 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 very useful pieces of the puzzle coming together. I explored this in philosophy outside of Indian philosophy. I explored this in a lot of alternate healing modalities and a lot of spiritual schools of thought. I'm not going to, sort of scare people here by bringing in all the woo-woo names, but I lived in an ashram. I've done stuff. I've done different forms of meditation. I still do. I'm actually certified in a bunch of different energy healing modalities. And all of these have contributed to my journey and growth and learning. And I actually bring all of these into my offerings. I use them in subtle ways in my workshops with my clients and all of that. Now, the thing is, I know the sacredness and the value and the potency of the work that I do is different from many other offerings out there. I'm a different kind of coach. I'm a different kind of a teacher, professor, because I bring in my learnings. I bring in my own energetic vibration that I've honed and developed, and that actually unlocks possibilities for people from different places. And I bring in all this. And there was a time when I was believing that, you know what, I know I'm different. And so people should pay me for this. They should, because in my class, they are getting my energy work, and they are getting my expertise, and they're getting the conventional prof stuff, and they're getting my coaching experience. So I should actually be adding up all of that and charging, and I'm certified in pranic therapy, and this and this and this. And then the wake-up call then for me was, maybe, when you teach in an institute, and this is the prof mentality, like, if you want to teach through IIM Bangalore or some other places, they look at all your degrees and certificates. Oh, you're so certified, you're bringing in so much. Okay, we'll pay you so much, right? If you have less certifications, we'll pay you less. And that's when you do B2B. But when I started doing B2C, directly working with people, I realized nobody cared. Nobody cared. Nobody cared about the certificates. Nobody cared about what I've been through. Nobody cared about the modalities that I use. Nobody cares about all the magic I can bring in. And that's okay. And that's okay. What they care about is their transformation. Can I get them from where they are stuck right now, point A to point B? They don't care what I use to get it, right? So let me give you another example. When I was teaching at IIM Bangalore, and I had introduced in the course that I used to teach, this is the course, by the way, for which I got an award at MHRD for using innovative methods. But this is also a course called PVGC, where I got into trouble internally with my own co-faculty, and all because I was using meditation and certain kinds of activities inside the class that at that time, now actually I've got permission to use it, and because I've rechristened it as a workshop course, but as a non-workshop course, I was not supposed to use those activities, use meditations as part of the curriculum. Do you get that? Right? Even though I knew that I wanted to use those to get the maximum benefit for the students and the clients. But that is when you're doing B2B, right? So even now, if I do a corporate workshop or offering, I'm very clear with them. What I'm bringing my prof hat in. I'm going to do this and this and this. And they want that, right? They want to be very clear about what are the modalities you're going to use and what is the process and all of that. But when I'm working directly B2C with my clients, they don't care. Are you doing meditation? Are you doing pranic healing? Are you doing pranic psychotherapy? Are you bringing in something from yoga, philosophy? Are you bringing in wisdom from the Bhagavad Gita? Are you bringing in wisdom from your own learning? Are you bringing in what you've learned from your clients? Are you using coaching? Are you using what you've learned from research? They don't care. They care about, have you unlocked my problem? Have you got me from point A to point B? Have you given me the next step that I can do? Have you helped me? Is everyone getting that? So the value that you're served, and that is what they will pay me for. Okay. Here's another thing. B2B. When I'm working with IIM Bangalore or working with corporate clients or doing training for them, they will pay me for the time that I take, right? You're doing teaching for 1 hour, teaching for 90 minutes. They will pay me by the hour. Pay me 1 day workshop, this much, 3-day workshop, this much. B2C, in a coaching client, let's say I'm coaching a CEO, and I do, leadership coaching as well. And I found that the more senior the CEO is, that if I can create the same transformation, if I can unlock what's holding someone back and give them their next step in 45 minutes versus 20 minutes, what do you think my business leader client who values his or her time prefers? They will pay me more if I can do it in 20 minutes for them rather than 45 minutes. And this again loops back into now the expertise, the experience. So they will actually pay me for the value that I can do faster. So it is almost opposite of people who are paying you by the hour, because now if you can do it faster, and if you show them you can do it faster, they will pay you more. They will not say, oh, you're charging so much for that. No. You are charging for the transformation. Taken me a while to understand this, to accept this, to recognize I don't have to charge by the hour. You charge, and neither do you. You charge by the value, the service you provide, and you will have a clientele, including most people, Even children are impatient nowadays, who will pay more for faster work rather than slower work. Okay. So if people come to my retreats, they are not going to be like, it's not like a holiday package where for 5 days in Kashmir, you will pay more than 2 days in Kashmir, right? So here in 2 days, in a 2-day retreat, because there you want to do your sightseeing and all of that, you get that. You're paying for the bed and breakfast and all of that for 5 days. Here, in a 2-day workshop, if you can make it more powerful, more transformative, they will pay more for a 2-day workshop than a 5-day workshop because they have to take that time out and come. And if they get as much, they're smart. They understand. And I say that they're smart, they understand, and I'm taking a deep breath because some of them are smart and some of them understand. There will be enough people in your audience who are smart, but who don't understand that because they are still stuck in the per hour, pay per hour. For if I'm paying this much for a 2-day workshop, I have to pay 5 by 2 times for a 5-day workshop. If I'm paying this much for a 20-hour session, then I have to pay 3 times more. Or if I'm paying this much for a 1-hour session, I have to pay 1/3 for a 20-minute session. They're smart, but their brains are still caught up in that same paradigm, right? That salaried paradigm, not this entrepreneurial paradigm of paying for the service. So in that case, the onus of educating them, whose job is it? That's also your job. So now you're playing the sales, the marketing, the educationalist, all of that. And I'm not saying this is going to be easy. And again, coming from my experience, I do find it's a hit and miss in the sense I find for me, it's like 50%. I get 50% clients nowadays who get this. I have another 50% of people who approach me and who are still trapped in that. And when they're trapped in that mentality, my prices don't work for them. And what do you do then? It's again up to you. I fortunately am right now at a point where I'm prioritizing my standards because there's also this internal signal that you give yourself about this is what my work and time is worth rather than diluting. Because if you keep diluting yourself and what you're charging to your clients and customers, it's like you're training them, right? Just like we train our children, our husbands, our dogs, our pets, our parents, how to treat us. You train your clients what to expect and for what money they will get, what kind of service. So you're training them, you land up training them to get a certain level of money that doesn't work for you. So I actually say, no, thank you, tata, bye-bye, and I let those people go. Does it cost me business? Yes, it does. But that is a stance that I'm willing to take right now. So again, what gives me the confidence to do that? Going back to my numbers, going back to my definition of abundance, going back to what does it mean for me to really value my work and value the worth of that, right? What are my current goals around that? And from that place, I get to say yes or no to a client who is or is not willing to pay me at this moment what I would like to receive as the value of my work, right? So I get to say yes or no to them by going back to my goals, going back to my definition of that abundance, going back to my definition of not just my self-worth, but also the value of my work. And how important for me is that? Is it right now to keep affirming that to myself? Why is it important for you to affirm the value of your work to yourself? Because our brains, just like every other programmable device on the planet, and I'm jumping straight into inner work. So those of you who've been in my sessions know how much I talk about our brains as innocent conditioning, programmable devices. So we're being gaslit and conditioned all the time and being told this is what you're worth, this is what you're worth, this is what your work is worth, all of that. What is the truth that you are going to claim for you? And how important is it for you to reinforce and believe that? And if you don't see that, will other people see that? Will you be able to, and this is going into the part 2 question that people say, right? Or your power equation, your negotiations, it all comes from that place of inner conviction. And if you don't believe it, again, I'm going to give it to you in writing, you can't go out and negotiate for it. If you don't believe this is what you're worth. So here's what you can do as an exercise. Sit down now. If you're a freelancer, if you're a coach, if you're a therapist, if you are creating any kind of service where you're impacting the lives of the people at the other end, you're a professor, impacting students, sit down. And okay, for a money-making activity, you can't look at all your work. You have to create a product. Okay, so that's important. You have to create a particular product, a masterclass, a course, a 10-week course, a retreat, a program, right? A webinar that's paid. Again, if it's not paid, it's not money making. Okay, so create that offering. Be very clear. This is the offering. This is the price I'm charging. And go back. Iterate now and sit down and say, when a person gets this product, whether it's a 1-hour masterclass, whether it's a weekend retreat, whether it's a 10-week course, whether it's an online coaching engagement journey, but whatever it is, when the person does this journey with me, or with my products from point A to point B, what is the transformation that they get? What is all the benefits listed? Are they happier? Are they opening up to more income? Do they have more self-worth? How are their relationships improving? So as a result of the work I do, and this is going to be true for many, many, many of you, you will be doing either career coaching or life coaching or one thing, but the tools and techniques that people learn and they will apply it to all aspects of their life, right? So I constantly hear from people how, they apply the tools that I teach in their relationships and other spaces. And of course they can. They're tools. I teach them to use the tools. I like to use the context of career crafting, but it's life crafting and it's relationship crafting and it's all of that, right? So it's, so they will actually benefit in all these areas. And make a list of all of that, and then look at your price and say, this is the transformation I'm creating, and how much would it be worth? Now, chances are for most of you, if you're in the space of teaching, coaching, healing, personal development, it's going to be so huge. Make a list of 50 points. By the way, when I started doing this is an exercise that was given to me by a coach of mine. And she said 50. I was like, really 50? I reached 50 like this and I didn't stop at 50. So if anyone wants, PM me. I'm happy to share you. I don't want to put it in the public domain, but one-on-one, I can show you. You can come up. If you don't, I'll tell you what, do your own 50. If you get stuck, write to me. I'll give you my 50, okay? And I say this because I reached 50 like this and it didn't stop there. I could have gone on and on and on. And it so changed the way that I looked at my work and my willingness to price my work. And that is that internal conviction and alignment that you need to reach inside of you, because this is actually going to this is going to be crucial in terms of you taking that money-making activity and actually putting it out there. Okay, so mistake number 2 is not prioritizing. And for some people, it's going to be not even creating that money-making activity. So you can have all this knowledge, all this experience, all this goodwill, all this service dharma flowing through you. And I was there for years and years and years. So when somebody comes knocking at you, you just open your heart and you give them life-changing advice. And they're saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm saying nothing wrong in that. But none of this is going to translate. It may translate into some kind of a assignment lead. I'm not ruling out serendipity. A lot of that has happened in my life. But all I'm saying is you don't have to leave it to chance. And this is where you can bring in your business knowledge and say, if you have a product, and this is where, that serendipity and chance can come after 10 years, right? I literally hear from people who've been in my programs 10 years later, they've risen up the ranks. And this happened to me recently with Atlas Copco. Okay, so somebody attended a workshop. 10 years after that, he's in the senior position, organizes a sales conference and says, we want you to come and talk. He remembers. When I did that, it wasn't a money-making activity. I was just doing that, right? As part of IIM training at IIM Bangalore. So these things will happen, and they happen a lot. But what I'm saying is, if you want to leave your life to chance, surrender, and serendipity, you can. But then don't say that, hey, you know what, I don't make enough money in my portfolio career. If you want to consistently make money in your portfolio career and have that as your main thing, which you're not leaving to chance, then you create your money-making activities, okay? Because see, the universe doesn't have a judgment. You're fine. Like, you're so happy, you're so fine. So the universe doesn't know that you've created these goals. You have to be very explicit about that. And then you have to create those vehicles, those containers. So think of these money-making activities as, like, if I want to drink water, there's lots of water on the planet, but I want to create this glass, a container, make sure I get a bottle, get my pipeline, put this bottle in the glass, and then drink it. You get it? I can't just say water, water everywhere, so many streams, so many springs, universe loves me, and my thirst will be quenched. Actually, I do believe it will, but I'm not leaving it to that, right? I want to have it in my house, and I want to have it available and accessible and leaking. It's just a choice. Got the analogy? Okay. Moving on to point number 3. Okay. Point number 3 flows directly. Mistake number 3 from point number 2. So you've created your money-making activity. You've prioritized it. But when you put it out there, you have to ask for the money. Ask for the sale. So mistake number 3, I made it a lot. I still make it because I'm still on the learning journey, just like all of you, which is feeling uncomfortable and asking for the money, asking for the sale. Are there gender angles to this? Absolutely. Cultural angles, yes. Upbringing, yes. North Indian, South Indian, yes. Indian, US, yes, 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 yes. We've been conditioned with all kinds of assumptions about money, being salesy, asking, receiving, right? So my first marriage, I was married to a Punjabi. I'm a Tamilian. Grew up feeling with very, very stiff money kind of thing. Praying only to Goddess Saraswati, never to Lakshmi. No, I mean, that was me, not even my family. I was like, wisdom, knowledge, yes, money. And I was translating Lakshmi just as money. But you get the idea, very, 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 very stiff, uncomfortable with money, not able to ask, not able to sell. Like, oh, really? I'll do anything, but let someone else do the thinking and talking of money. Okay, so I was there. In fact, I didn't even know the passwords to my bank account when I was in my first marriage. I just left it all to my husband, who was way more comfortable. And this is why I talk about it. So he's a Punjabi. And I realized that, again, the Punjabi cultures, they have a very different, in fact, a way more playful, engaging, flowing relationship with money. So me being stiff, I actually let him handle, right? So it was actually only when I was going through my divorce that I literally started opening my bank account, setting my passwords, my profile passwords, educating myself. Yes, I was an MBA way before that, but my money education was one of the fringe benefits of having to go through the divorce. So keeping this story aside, coming back to the whole idea of, so even in things like Punjabi festivals and weddings, like people take cash and they throw it around, and all of that cash used to gross me out. It used to like, what is going on? And I was like, in so much judgment about it till I have been healing, and I've been working with my own coaches. And this is where it's been my, I have a webinar called Money EQ as well. So I've intensely and extensively worked on my own relationship with money. And I now see it as not just a tool, but a sacred tool. And now I get it. Now I get it when those Punjabi aunties come with the cash and they do this and they remove the nazar and they throw the cash on you as blessings. I now get the love. And I'm not saying that some of them might be doing it with judgment and some of them might be doing it as plain rituals, but some of them are doing it with love and that big open heart, and the money is the tool of them showing their love for your beauty, your presence, your dancing, whatever it is. And I'm now in a place where I can receive that cash as a symbol of love. I was not there. So now with my clients, I can actually receive, just as I can receive the love of the Punjabi aunties when I'm dancing and they're throwing cash and they're like, yes, I receive it. I can receive the cash from my coaching clients, from my participants when they give me cash as a form of appreciation and acknowledgement of the transformation that I have created in their lives. When you get to this place, and some of you might already be there, right? And I'm not saying some of you are literally born into families and cultures where you have this rock star relationship with money from the word go. And I know people like that. I know people who are born in cultures who have very, very sacred relationships with money. Good for you. This part of the masterclass is not for you. This part of the masterclass is for those of you. And I know there are lots of you out there because over the years now I've worked with lots of people who feel wonky, uncomfortable in asking for the money, asking for the sale, and you just think that, oh, you should give things for free and free. And sometimes this is also reinforced in you. So among the many certifications I have, which I don't use, I use only part of my certifications. I'm also a trained yoga teacher. I was trained at the Viveka S. Vyasa University. And it was a 1 month intense yoga teaching certification and examination. And I don't know if they've changed it now, frankly, because this was some years ago, many years ago. But when I certified, very deliberately, we were told, do not charge money for you teaching yoga ever. It's just their definition of sacred was sacred means you don't charge. This is sacred knowledge, you don't charge for it. With all due respect to that logic, if money is just a tool, you can actually disentangle that. So I was trapped in that for a longest of time when I thought of everything that I do as a sacred offering, and oh, it's sacred, so I can't charge for it. So let me be here to present a different alternative for you, which is, even if you're running a temple, you need the money, and there are temples that take money from you, right? So you need, if this is the temple that you are walking around and transforming life and creating sacred miracles, you need money to operate this. So this goes back to your step one. Why do you need the money? Is it to grow your business? Is it to, hire other people to help you and support you in your work? Is it to, be of sacred service to your family, your children, do your duties as a mother, a parent, a daughter, whatever it is. So just get that mess cleaned up inside your head. Why am I calling it a mess? Because what you don't want, and again, I've been there. I'm not even saying I'm completely healed of this. I'm still on route. But what you want is more and more clarity. And the way when you have more and more clarity, you have more and more ease with calling the money in, inviting the money in, and then the money will come in, right? But first, if you have to invite, if you're not asking, you won't get it. So let me tell you something. Remember part one that I told you that people will only pay you when you deliver value content and take them on a transformative journey or change something for them from point A to point B? True. Let me tell you, the converse is unfortunately not true in our society, which means just because you transform someone's life, just because you provide value content, is that person going to pay you? Sit with that question. Go back through all your experiences of giving free service, help to people. Did they always pay you for it? Yeah, and sometimes you get gratitude, thank you, all of that. Sometimes not even that, right? So, getting clear in asking for the money. Because if you don't ask for the money, there will be enough people, and they're not necessarily ill-meaning people. Just like they just subscribe to that philosophy in the yoga ashram, which is we don't charge for our work. We give it for free. And so they will take it for free. And I also consume a lot of free content, but I also pay for the content that I would like to have. Now, if there's teacher A and teacher B, and they're both giving me same quality content, one is charging for it, one is giving it free. I'll be honest, if there's a freebie out there, a lovely free video on YouTube that can, aid my learning, or an academic journal that's free, of course I will go and learn from it. But if I find a certain learning, a certain insight, a certain service that I need to pay for, and I know that it's going to contribute for me, and I have the ability to pay for it, I will pay for it. And here's what I have also learned in my own journey, both as someone who offers services and asks people to pay for it, and who receive service. So one of the reasons I like to charge, one of the reasons behind my income goal, is so that I can keep investing in upgrading myself, right? So let me give you an example of one of the first personal development classes that I attended, where I paid way out of my comfort zone. There was this particular coach that I wanted to learn from. I admired her. I followed, binge watched all her free content and all of that. There was this workshop she's offering. And I was like, I want to go for it. But this was a paid one. And I was like, I'm talking, I think, 14 years ago now, or 12 years ago, maybe. Yeah, 12 years ago, 10 to 12. And I was still very, very, very confused and sticky with my relationship of money. Like, I'll pick free, right? So, and I did get this kind of things that I wanted to learn from. A lot of them were available for free. And so I was like, just keep, but this I wanted to go because I wanted to get something. I was like, there's something in her presence that I wanted to learn. And it was outside my zone. But I had not that I didn't have the money. Okay, I had the money, but it's like mental accounting. I'd rather spend it on a vacation or I was not spending it on coaching and education. So I did this. And then I realized that she gave me homework and there were, exercises to do. And she gave me certain things to, like affirmations to use and practice. And she had customized it for me. I did them so diligently. And I'm not saying she was necessarily better than quite a few of the online free content that I had seen or courses that I had done. But in those free courses and content, I had not done my homework all the time. Sometimes I had. And by now, if you're in the space of inner work, inner journey, any kind of education, and I'm not saying this because I'm also a prof. I'm a student as well. I'm always learning. You don't do the work, you don't get the learning and transformation the way that you could. You're just being like watching TV, watching the news, comparing theories. The change hasn't happened. You don't get the real value of that body of work, of that exercise. And I really got it. And I realized then, because she was also not, she's a very dear teacher. I still like her. But she was not the star. She was not like a star beyond. She was not like the best teacher I've ever been to. I mean, I don't want to get into comparing, rating, ranking teachers and all, but I've taken, in the same place, I've seen stars that maybe I could, would say, nicer. But with her, I transformed more. My return from this workshop, this paid workshop, was more because I did all the homework as opposed to my free courses. And that was a changing moment in my life because by then I was up till here giving free advice, free techniques to people who would come to me and then getting fed up because they would not do the work. They would not follow through. And I'm like, my hands are tied. I cannot walk your journey for you. This is gold. I know this is gold, I'm telling you, but you have to do the work. So when I realized this, I was like, oh my God, if I am teaching. So I actually became even more committed to conducting paid workshops. I still do free workshops on off, right? Like this one, I'm going to give it free only for a limited time. And then it's going to get converted into a paid workshop. Why? Because I know, and I'm not saying I know this for sure for you, but I know for 99% of people, when it is paid content, you will take it more seriously. You will pay attention. Your own brain will say, I want the value. I want my return on time invested, money invested in this, right? And so I will do the exercises. I will get that transformation. I'll get my paisa vasool. I also realized this when I started doing private coaching. And there was a time I started my private coaching at a certain fee, and then I've raised it. And the reason I've raised it is for multiple reasons. One of which was also when I realized that when I'm doing private coaching, it means I cannot do group coaching or larger programs. So which means of course, it's way more intensive and customized, but just in terms of valuing my own time, I raised my prices. And which meant there were enough people who would say, oh, we want to do, but once I send the brochure, they were like, we can't afford that. I hear that all the time. But when people take it, like, I'm seeing results way more than I was seeing, because I was the same. Of course, I know I've upgraded, I've learned, we all get better over the years, but it can't just be me getting better, because at this level, when it was going very free, the people were not putting in the work. At this level of pricing, they are. And when they put in the work, they get the transformation. Okay, so you get a point. Okay, so So basically, doing this is an inner work. It's an inner work journey. It has several components to it. Just your healing your relationship with money, getting to see it as a neutral tool, beginning to acknowledge and value the sacredness of your work, your time, so that you can charge for it. Willing to be and billing billing also. Wow, this right, billing and willing, right, being willing to do the billing. So, and to be very have this crystal clear clarity about what is the transformative journey you're taking the client to. So it's not just that you're seeing value, but what is the transformation, and then billing them for that, and asking for that sale. Okay, and recognizing that in asking for the sale and asking people to pay for it, sometimes you might be doing them a way better gift than you know. It's like paid gym membership versus free gym membership. I'll go back to yoga class. I know yoga. I think yoga is beautiful. It is a sacred science. But how many of us go to free yoga classes and then do it and then free mein, right? It's like our kids take us for granted. But of course, there are lots of other things that come into the equation, but you get the idea. So mistake number 3 is not feeling comfortable and asking for the money, asking for the sale. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're on your own, you have to this is a healing journey. It will not just help you in your business, it will start helping you in so many other areas, right? Like for me, when I intentionally set out to change my relationship with money so that I could do my life's work as a business, which I wanted to do. And I am ambitious. I want to reach a lot of people with this body of work, help them change their relationship with work. That's my life calling in business. In order to scale, I need money. So I really took this as an agenda. But when I did it, the space of non-judgment that it brought me to, I've actually been able to make peace, for example, with my first set of in-laws. Now I've gone back and been able to express so much more love and appreciation and gratitude for things that I could not actually do when I was part of that family, because I had all my judgments. So I have literally, I think I've grown as a person and opened up. So opening up to money has helped me open up to so much more, because money is just a tool, right? Okay. And so that's mistake number 3. Now, I think I don't want to, keeping an eye on the time. Okay. So recapping these beliefs about yourself, beliefs about work itself, the value of your work, do the exercises of 50 ways in which you can change, in which you add value. And then that's going to give you the confidence to basically actually pitch your MMA, the money-making activities, bill for it, charge for it. Know that you are actually increasing the chance, you're improving the efficacy of your transformative work when you charge for it. There is also more inner work, all of which, of course, this is what I help people do in my coaching programs, in my longer workshops, where I just give you their beliefs about, well, will people pay? What will people pay? All of that. And there is inner work that's required here as well. I've done it. I've been on that journey. And this is also places where you can unlock your own limiting beliefs. Coming into, what we started this with, which is your power of negotiation. Does it go down as a self-work? And yes, so I get it. So the person who asked the question, the lady, right? So even when you get into a job, a salary job, so the specific nature of this question was, as a freelancer, when you're on your own, your power equation goes down. Actually, I'm going to tell you, it might go down, but it can go up. For me, it has gone up. And I'll tell you why. Let's take this in 2 steps, right? Let's do scenario by scenario. Salary job. Your power equation dynamics, let's be honest, most of it is in that interview stage, right? I mean, after that, it gets tougher and tougher. But in your interview stage, we're looking at pitching your value, knowing your value, and negotiating the best deal. And I know you just sort of magically do it there. You sort of and then you breathe a sigh of relief and take it from there. When you're on your own in a portfolio career, when you're doing project-based, all of that, it's more distributed. That same magic that you had to use in your initial negotiation to land that job, you have to have that magic at your fingertips again and again and again. Good news and bad news. The good news is that you practice it and you internalize it. Okay. The bad news that you can't fake it. You can fake job interviews because it's one off and then you're in and then you can do what you like. Here, you can't fake it. But I don't think the people who are looking to fake it are the ones who are actually even looking at freelancing or doing portfolio career. So if you're trying to just fake it, make people see some fake value and getting into a job and then, okay, now the money is going to come in and I'm just going to sit and chill, then okay, fine. Then you wouldn't even be reading my article on portfolio careers and you wouldn't be listening to this web. You wouldn't have reached this part of the webinar. Okay. So this is what people who actually believe in the work that they're doing transformative work. You're willing to work hard, right? On your terms. And so the thing is, you want to have your power equation always on you, right? And how do you have it? So you don't have to, constantly wear that power suit. You get it from this other place of conviction. And that's where you get your power from. Okay. Remember, I told you about how I actually feel I have given myself permission. If somebody is not willing to pay me what I think me and my work value is work. Now, if the person is going through a particular difficult situation, it doesn't mean I don't give, scholarships or don't give free work, but I do. But it's just that I am not going to do that again and again. And I'm not going to do that for someone who I clearly know has the ability to pay. So my power to negotiate actually has gone up rather than gone down. Okay. The second way of making your power equation or negotiation power go up is actually very simple, which is to position yourself and to build your business, or at least one project of your portfolio business where you want, and you want this to be the money-making project, or you can have one or two in your portfolio that are your money-making, projects in your portfolio business, and you can have a few others which are charitable, and I do that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So we are just talking about the money-making projects now. So for these, you have to position yourself as an expert. Now, who is an expert? So this is very fresh off the table because just yesterday, I was, invited to give a talk to a certain group. And when I was being introduced by the host, they introduced me as an expert in career crafting. And this still happens to me, whenever I hear the expert. And then I sort of, went into the talk and I'm like, yeah, I just told everyone, just chill, don't worry, because this was like a fireside chat and not recorded, just Q&A. And I was like, don't think of me as an expert, let's just I'm just like all of you. And this, I did that for the conversation. And then later at night, I was thinking, and I was acknowledging myself, I am an expert. And what is really an expert? And of course, what I didn't want at that stage was the barriers that I'm an expert and you're not. But I was thinking, is it possible to hold that? And I held it inside, but even, you can choose situation by situation, whether you hold that expertise just inside or you allow it to be projected outside also. Sometimes you might want to. So when I go into an MBA class, I have to go and say, I am the expert. Otherwise, nobody just listen to me. Okay. So you decide whether it's inside or outside, but to have that awareness and acknowledgement, that peaceful awareness and acknowledgement of I am an expert. And then I started thinking about who is an expert. When do you decide you're an expert? And I broke it down into just two things. One is experience, lots and lots of experience. And the second is specialized knowledge, specialized learning, specialized tool. Let me give you an example. So last week, my son, and I don't know why, we still don't know, and the doctors don't know, but he had like this little bit of some kind of an abscess below his knee, and they sent him back. The school doctor saw it and she said, okay, we don't know why there's some pus here and probably need to puncture it and take out the pus. And I don't want to do it. Like, why don't you do it here. So, we took him to the clinic here. It happened to be a day when the doctor was off, but there was a nurse and he was really nice and very confident. And we could have, she could have punctured it and we could have punctured it, but this nurse, we were like, we let him puncture it and he punctured it and, told me to sit outside and he did a nice dressing. And, I felt very good leaving my son in his hands. Why? He's an expert in bandaging, cleaning, dressing wounds. He's actually more of an expert than the school teacher. My son was giggling after that. And I'm just going home because I love his school teacher. And this doesn't go there. But so he was like, the medical doctor in the school is a surgeon. But she's not done as much hands-on bandaging, puncturing. And of course, she wanted the parents. So all of that also. But it's just she's not done this as much as the nurse here. And so to me, when I say someone is an expert in something, it's a combination of both. It's not just the book knowledge and understanding. I know that's very, 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 very important. Okay, I spend a lot of time learning, but it's also experience in a certain field, doing something, working with other people, bring them together. And to me, that's an expert. And I say this with a lot of love and respect because I've also been an academic and married to a strategy professor. I have dear friends who are scholars in, every management discipline. Not everyone would be an expert in the application of that field, but they are experts in teaching or experts in research. You get the idea. So let's bring it back, ladies and gentlemen. When you are creating your money-making activity, your products, your services, take some time, because creating that product, creating a saleable, I'll say that word again, saleable, billable. Creating a saleable and billable product is not easy. Rather, take your time to do it, craft it with love, with thought, with attention. And you can always, of course, recraft, put some thought into it. And I learned the hard way, but I'm also a very impulsive person. I used to just keep creating things. And then I realized I had a masterclass series on choosing happiness. Nobody wanted to pay for that, right? But I had one on redesigning your career. Everybody wanted to pay for that out of their pocket, right? So the choosing happiness, joy at work, corporates wanted to pay for that. So you want to understand the basic, go back to your marketing one-on-one. Whom are you selling to? Identify the target. Are they willing to pay? This, others, you can look it up anywhere. I'm not going to teach you marketing now, but I'm saying do the work, which is who's the target audience, create your saleable product around that. And remember and you don't have to do this in every offering of yours, but the money-making offerings should be one where you can position yourself as an expert. And where can you position yourself as an expert? Where you have that unique combination of experience plus knowledge. Okay, so it's taken me a lot of iterations to come back to creating offerings around career alchemy. Because I realized this is where, oh my God, I have experience. I have 25 years of experience because first I was working on it for myself, then for my students, because I started with the award-winning PVGCO course and then, for corporates and coaching. And I was like, okay, this is where I have the most experience. I have been thinking, breathing, living, talking this stuff for 25 years. This is where I've also done my research. Remember the calling, the question, I'm here to understand why human beings work, the relationship between human beings and work. This is what I've been reading when I sit in bookshops with a tea, right? This is what I talk to people. This is what I still remember. I was on this, night walk in Scotland. And I used to go around asking people everything. Why do you work? Why do you work, right? Because I wanted to know why different people work. And I remember this one woman, and sometimes they leave one very old woman. First time she used something like this, which gave me a huge new chapter in my own research, which is in a night walk in Scotland, right? But I was randomly meeting people, making friends and asking them, hey, you know what? This is what I want to know. Why do you work? And she said, for love. Why else? Why would I do anything but for love? And I was already like 3-4 years into my research, and no one had used the word like that way for love. And she looked at me as if like, why are you even doing all this research and studies? The answer is so obvious, only for love. Why would you? And that conviction of hers was like, what? And I started looking, and now I get it. Now I get it, but it's taken me a journey to even understand where she was coming from. So the point I'm saying is that, yeah, so this is the knowledge, the research, the experience. So look at your own life, and I'm sure you'll be able to identify a niche where you have experience. Otherwise, you might have to wait to cultivate a bit of experience before you can really start charging higher prices. And that's okay. Many times it's worth the wait. It won't come like that. And when you position yourself as an expert, that's when you can also charge higher prices. Makes sense, right? Would you pay more for a brain surgeon or a general practitioner? Or would you pay more for a childbirthing expert? Or would you pay more to, again, a GP? So I know it's a standard example, but you get the idea, right? So that's where, so if you're just starting out on your portfolio career, you're freelancing, yes. And if you're feeling like your power is down, your negotiation is down, go back and do this homework. And the homework is on two sides. One is the inner work, your own conviction. You have to get every part of your brain. You have to get all parts of yourself on board about the service you're providing, the value you're creating, the transformation you can change. Make that list of 50 ways in which you can transform your clients' lives, and get that internal conviction. Get your own clarity. You don't want to have a part of you feeling like, why should I charge and all of that. You have to feel totally aligned, saying this is totally worth it. These people are goddamn lucky to get this for so much, because actually the transformation I create is going to be 100 times more than what I'm charging. They are goddamn lucky. They don't know it. It's my job to educate them that this is what they're getting. It's life-changing. It's transformational. In order to do that, in order to make that effective sales pitch, you need to believe it yourself. This is the kind of inside-out sales, and it's effortless. And this is what you want to do. This is not, again, this is how it's different from, let's say, different sale. When you're in a sales set, you're selling a product, let's say, but you don't know about who's made it or what. That's different. Here you're selling your service, right? Okay. The second part of this conviction, the negotiation power. Conviction is the first part of your negotiation power. The second part is going to come just from positioning. Proper, just normal MBA 101, marketing class, strategy class, go back, right? If you've not done an MBA, Google 101s of marketing, strategy, positioning, target audience. And you want to position yourself not as a general practitioner, not as a jack of all trades, but as an expert. And the more you can do that, obviously, the more higher you can charge. And see, the thing is, the more you can focus on that, the more you will build up your experience also in that. You will get a name, you will have, that's also 101 of personal branding. People will say, oh, you want to do, like for me now, it's like, oh, you want to do craft your career. But for my, it's not just career crafting, but it's an inside out approach, because I operate in a niche of inner sovereignty plus outer excellence, right? So both of these are important to me. So my inner work, so the inner work modules and the inner work exercises about having that inner sovereignty, creating it, cultivating it, clearing up all the mess inside so that we can be completely aligned in what we do. And then there is the outer work, and that's about how you use all of that to bring in the resources, the leverage, to network, to interact, to communicate in order to actually do what you want to do. And that's excellence, right? Because excellence, to me at least, is in action and creation. It's not just that feeling of inner peace and calm and alignment. I call that alignment of peace and calm. When I use the word excellence, it's about creation outside in the material world, in tangible ways. Okay. And so for me, my positioning is, yes, it's career crafting, but it's an inside out approach to career crafting. And in that niche, I actually don't know anyone else who's as good as me. So, or who's even done this. So I would say I'm the pioneer and world's expert in an inside out approach to career crafting. And this is my niche. I'm the go-to person here. And of course, I've learned from lots of teachers, modalities and all, but nobody offers it or puts it together or has been putting it together and applying it in this context in the way that I am doing. Okay. So this is how you can create your niche. take some time. For some of you, and I know because sometimes when I work with people, they have a niche already present that they've not thought of that. I'm like, what? What? You have this niche. Why don't you use it? It's like those Ikigai Venn diagrams, right? We can spot it right away. So for some people, you can't spot one right away, but you can strategize one and say, you learn this, you do this, you practice this, and 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, you will be the expert here. You can be an expert in this niche. We craft that, right? You already have some pieces of the puzzle. Maybe you need a little more of certification. Maybe you need a little more of training, or maybe you have all of that. You need some experience, or maybe you've been just, you've had this all over the place, which is like what I had, and you just need to sort of zone in a little more. Okay, so I will stop now. So this is my answer to your question. Now, before we close this, I'm going to take a bit of the advice that I have very sweetly given you and use it in terms of pitching my own money-making activity and my coaching, my retreats, my workshops. I have online work, and absolutely. So if any of you want to work one-on-one with me, reach out. So how do you find me? I would say just Google right now and find me, because I'm still working on my webpage and LinkedIn, on multiple platforms, or wherever you see this video, you should be able to follow my handle if you see it on YouTube or Facebook, or just Google. You can write to contact@craftingourlives.com. You'll find that again on the website. Reach out, and I will let you know about the next upcoming retreat or workshop, and get in touch. There are many ways. I do private coaching. I also have online recorded digital classes. I have digital plus group coaching to suit your budget. The group offerings are way more budget friendly, and they are also, I think, they come with a lot of silver linings that the private coaching doesn't. So I keep pushing people more and more to come for the group retreats and for the group sessions, because there's so much magic that happens there, where of course I'm holding the space and facilitating, but there's at the end of the day, we're not so unique. That's what I'm finding, which is what allows me to create these group offerings also. And people gain and learn so much from one another. And there's such a shared sense of discovery, growth. And that's why I use the word alchemy. So I just like, even though I charge more for private, I push people towards the group offering. So do reach out. And of course, if you want me to do a customized workshop for a group, maybe you are part of an entrepreneurs group, maybe you're, leading a think tank, maybe it's a corporate workshop, maybe it's a group of entrepreneurs, feel free to reach out. We can do customized work as well. So this is my core offering, the Career Alchemy, but I teach a lot of things which are not in my core offerings as well. I do have a portfolio career, so feel free to just let me know. You can pick my brains on other customized offerings as well. And have a great day. I'm just going through my notes to make sure I've finished everything I wanted to contribute to you today. So use it, right? Do the exercises. And I hope I'll see you somewhere in one of the retreats, one of the programs somewhere. Take care. Bye-bye.